We have eyes on a possible trail heading northwest. Repeat, northwest. Requesting ground units to investigate. We have eyes on a possible trail heading northwest. Repeat, northwest. Requesting ground units to investigate.
The Pacific Coast Highway cuts through the darkness like a thin silver blade, the hum of tires against asphalt echoing beneath the cliffs. Malibu, California, home to luxury, waves, and stars, also hides shadows in its canyons. These canyons twist and wind into rugged terrain where sound seems to vanish, swallowed by the wilderness. It was here, in September 2009, that a young woman named Mitrice Richardson would take her last known steps into the night. Released from custody, alone and without a car, phone, or money, she walked into the canyon silence. 11 months later, her remains would be found deep in that wilderness. The mystery of what happened in those hours after her release remains one of the most haunting unsolved cases in California. Hi and welcome to Case Wave True Crime. Stay with us as we uncover a woman who was released from jail at night, disappears, later found dead in Malibu Canyon. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out on true crime stories that will keep you wondering why and speechless. To know the weight of this story, you first need to know Mitrice. Born on April 30th, 1985, in Los Angeles, Mitrice was vibrant, intelligent, and full of life. At 24, she had graduated from Cal State Fullerton with a degree in psychology. Friends described her as ambitious and caring, someone who dreamed of building a career in clinical psychology and eventually working with children. She wasn't just a student or daughter. She was also a dancer, a pageant participant, and someone who loved to perform. With her wide smile and magnetic energy, Mitrice seemed to light up every room. But beneath her confidence, some close to her noticed moments of complexity, occasional odd behaviors, a restless spirit, and hints of emotional turbulence. None of it seemed alarming enough to predict what would happen in the fall of 2009. September 16, 2009, started as a typical day. That evening, Mitrice decided to drive to Malibu, nearly 40 miles from her home in South Los Angeles. She pulled her black Honda Civic into the parking lot of Jeffrey's Malibu, an upscale restaurant overlooking the Pacific. Inside, Mitrice ordered a meal and a cocktail. To the waitstaff, something seemed off. She was friendly, even talkative, but also disjointed. She mentioned things that didn't make sense, like settling a bill for a family she knew or referencing random celebrities as though they were part of her personal circle. When the $89 bill came, Mitrice couldn't pay. She explained she had left her wallet in the car, but when the staff checked, they found no wallet inside. Police were called, not because she had dined and dashed, but because her behavior raised concern. The staff described her as acting weird, and they weren't sure she was safe to leave on her own. At 9:55 p.m., deputies from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department arrived. They arrested her on suspicion of defrauding an innkeeper. Mitrice's car was towed from the restaurant. Inside were her wallet, ID, phone, and keys, all left behind when she was taken into custody. She was transported to the Lost Hills Sheriff's Station, a small facility near Calabasas, perched between the Malibu Canyons and suburban Los Angeles. It was here that the most controversial decision of the night would unfold. Deputies booked Mitrice, fingerprinted her, and placed her in a holding cell. She was calm but still showing signs of erratic thought. She spoke about things that didn't add up, laughing at odd moments, then drifting into silence. Mitrice's mother, Latai Sutton, called the station around midnight after hearing her daughter had been arrested. Latai was concerned. She made it clear that Mitrice wasn't familiar with the area and had no way of getting home. She asked deputies not to release her until morning when someone could pick her up. The deputy told her Mitrice would be safe. But shortly after midnight, Mitrice was released. No ride, no phone, no money, no car. She stepped into the night air alone, with only her mind to guide her. The Lost Hills Station sits at the edge of Malibu Canyon, where roads dissolve into wilderness. Surveillance footage shows Mitrice leaving the building just after 12:30 a.m. She walked out into the night, never to be seen alive again. Hours later, at around 6 a.m., a resident in the Monte Nido community called 911. He reported seeing a young black woman sitting in a backyard. She was quiet, perhaps disoriented. When he approached, she disappeared into the darkness of the canyon. That woman was Mitrice. After that, there were no confirmed sightings. The canyon had swallowed her whole. When Mitrice didn't come home, her family grew frantic. Latice called the sheriff's department again, demanding answers. Why had they released her daughter in the middle of the night? Why didn't anyone ensure she had a safe way home? Searches began in the surrounding area. Helicopters hovered over the rugged landscape.
We have eyes on a possible trail
Deputies
heading
on
northwest.
horseback
Repeat,
combed trails.
northwest.
Volunteers
Requesting ground units
posted
to
flyers.
investigate.
But weeks turned into months, and no trace of Mitrice was found. The case was complicated by questions about Mitrice's mental health. Some speculated she may have been experiencing a breakdown or psychosis that night, potentially linked to bipolar disorder. Her family acknowledged she had shown unusual behavior, but insisted she was not suicidal or prone to wandering. The canyon itself was unforgiving. Its trails twisted through steep terrain, with rattlesnakes, mountain lions, and hidden drop-offs. If Mitrice had entered the wilderness, survival would have been nearly impossible. On August 9, 2010, nearly 11 months after Mitrice vanished, park rangers in Dark Canyon stumbled upon human remains. The skeleton lay deep in the brush, about 6 miles from the Lost Hill station. The remains were identified as Mitrice Richardson. But instead of closure, the discovery brought more questions. Her body was found partially mummified, missing clothing. Some of her remains were scattered. Investigators could not determine a cause of death. There was no evidence of trauma, but the decomposition was too advanced to rule out foul play. The location itself was baffling. It was remote, difficult to access. How had Mitrice traveled so far on foot in the dark, through some of the harshest terrain in the canyon? The handling of Mitrice's case has been criticized from the beginning. Why was she released at night, alone, despite her mother's plea to hold her until morning? After her disappearance, some argue the sheriff's department didn't act swiftly enough in searching the canyon. When Mitrice's body was found, her remains were removed before the coroner arrived, a violation of standard protocol. This led to accusations of mishandling evidence. These missteps deepened suspicion that the truth of what happened to Mitrice was lost, or worse, covered up. Over the years, several theories have emerged. Some believe Mitrice wandered into the canyon and succumbed to exposure, dehydration, or fall. If she was experiencing psychosis, her behavior may have led her deeper into danger. Others suspect she may have encountered someone in the canyon who harmed her. The missing clothing and scattered remains fuel this theory. Many argue the sheriff's department's decisions directly place Mitrice in harm's way, and the removal of her remains only heightened suspicion. No theory fully explains all the details, and without a cause of death, the case remains unresolved. Latice Sutton has never stopped fighting for answers. She has spoken publicly, demanded investigations, and pursued legal action against the sheriff's department. For her, it's not just about negligence. It's about justice for her daughter. She remembers Mitrice not as a case number, but as a daughter full of promise. A woman who deserved protection, not abandonment. Today, Malibu Canyon stands as both a breathtaking landscape and a haunting reminder. Hikers pass trails where Mitrice's footprints may have once pressed into the dirt. The wind whistles through trees, carrying a silence that feels heavy with unanswered questions. What happened in those hours after Mitrice walked out of Lost Hills? Did she lose her way, or did someone else decide her fate? We may never know. The mysterious death of Mitrice Richardson is more than an unsolved case. It's a story about vulnerability, responsibility, and the systems meant to protect us. A young woman was left alone on a dark road, and her life ended in a canyon of silence. Her case forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. How should law enforcement treat those showing signs of mental crisis? How do we hold institutions accountable when mistakes cost lives? And how do families carry grief when closure is denied? Mitrice's name remains a whisper in true crime circles, a symbol of both injustice and the unknown. Sometimes the most haunting mysteries are not those hidden in shadows, but those played out in plain sight, where the decisions of a single night ripple into eternity.